Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Adrian, and today we're going to be trying something a little bit different for the channel. This is a format of video that I'm considering doing on a sort of weekly basis from here to see if I like it, to see if you guys like it, and it's going to be a bit of a weekly reading wrap up, kind of in the vein of Literature Science Alliance is Friday Read, so Angela over there. What the plan is for me to tell you what I've been reading this week, let you know how I'm getting on with stuff. Hopefully it will encourage me to be a little bit more diverse in my reading. I tend to get a little bit bogged down in single books and series, and I want to be a bit more varied, so hopefully it will encourage that, as well as just letting you guys know what's going on with my reading, while I'm not really imagining I'm going to have time to do too many reviews at this point in time, just with what's going on in life. So at least then you can get sort of little quick snapshots of what I'm reading, what I think about it, if it might be something you enjoy. So I will be recording these generally on a Tuesday. They'll be coming out to you guys on a Wednesday. So it should be telling you what I've read in that last week since the previous Tuesday. So that's going to be one of my videos every week for the next month or so, just so you guys can see it, see what you think, and see if I like doing them as well. So yeah, without any more faffing from me, let's get right into what I've been reading this week. So as you will have seen, hopefully, on the channel last week, I released a review, a very rambly review, unfortunately, of The Ninth Reign by Jen Williams. This is book one of the Winnowing Flame trilogy. So I finished this on Thursday last week. So yeah, that comes into this week's reading wrap up. It was a book I really enjoyed. If you want to know more, have a look at that video, but it was a 5-star read for me. Really interesting world building, really great character work, really enjoyed it. So I've got sort of finished the last 100 pages or so of that at the beginning of this week. From there, I immediately went on to another audiobook, Stormfront by Jim Butcher. Now that is the first book of the Dresden Files. It is a book I have read probably 7 or 8 times. Most of those actually I've been listening to it on audiobook. James Masters is incredible as a narrator for this series. And I decided I was going to jump on in with book 2 of the Dresden Files, Full Moon. Now, Full Moon is, within the Dresden Files fan base, is kind of derided. It's not enjoyed, it's not loved. It is for the vast majority of people's least favourite book in the Dresden Files. And I can understand why. The plot is very, it's a bit scattergun. It's a bit all over the place. There's lots of things happening. There's lots of stuff going on. The through line is a bit wibbly wobbly, a bit wonky. It's still Dresden finding its feet. It's still Jim Butcher finding his way as an author. There is still some slight issues with characterization and other stuff. However, and again, this is like a 6th or 7th read for me of this book, so I'm a little bit biased, but I still really enjoyed it. And although I probably agree it's the worst book in the Dresden Files series, it was still a good read. I still really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. I blasted through it in a couple of days. I finished it before we even hit the weekend. So it was a really enjoyable read for me, enjoyable listen for me. It's still a 4-star book. It's still a really good book. It's the worst Dresden Files book, but that's still a pretty decent book. I really enjoy it. And I am definitely intending to continue my re-listen of this series over the next few months and keep going with it, because then we start getting to the really good stuff. I know that Kate over at the Almost Book Doctor has read the first 4 books of the Dresden Files recently. She seemed quite enthused to carry on with it, and yeah, I hope she continues to enjoy it. I really enjoyed listening to her views on it, her opinions on it. I think you guys should go check out that video where she talks through the first 4 of those books. So yeah, link will be down below. But really enjoyed her opinions on the Dresden Files, and I can't wait to keep going with it. It is such a comforting series for me to read, and I just absolutely love it. And I know that it really steps up with Grave Peril as the next one. So hopefully getting to that soon. At this point, I have also then picked up another audiobook to continue on after I finished Full Moon, and this was actually book 2 of the Winnowing Flame trilogy. This was The Bitter Twins. So currently I am about 35% of the way through it. I had a really good listening day for my audiobooks. on Monday, so got through a big chunk of it. I am really enjoying this again. This has got so many of the really good positive things from the Ninth Reign. It's also got new characters that are introduced that I really love. I think their characterization is really interesting. I think they've got a very distinct feel to each of them, and I'm loving that. And then the characters we already knew, I'm loving it even more so. So I can absolutely see this trilogy, if it continues the way it is, becoming one of my favourite trilogies. It is brilliant. I think Joan Williams does a great job with it. And yeah, keep an ear out for my opinions on this series as I finish it. I can imagine getting it done either by the end of June or by sort of July time to finish the whole trilogy. And I'm sure there will be a Should You Read video up when I do finish that. So you can see if this is a series that you think you will want to get into or not. So that's been my audiobook listening or reading for the week so far. Going into now my physical reading, as you probably heard on my wrap up for the month, I was struggling my way through 9 Fox Gambit, physically reading. It's a short book. It just wasn't helping me with where my mental state was, so I put that on hold and I picked up something that I thought was going to be a really easy read, and it is. It's been a very easy read so far. I've really enjoyed it, and this is Unsold by Will White. This is the first book of the Cradle series. It's a bit of a Reddit darling, is the Cradle series. Over r/fantasy, I know that everyone raves about the Cradle series by Will White. I know he's just released another book, which is maybe book 9 or 10 in the Cradle series. I have, over the last couple of months, acquired every single Cradle book except the most recent release for free. And this is because Will White is just a monster at giving away his books for free. I think the idea is that if he gets you hooked on the freebies, you'll buy his new stuff, and I can absolutely see that working. Currently, I'm about 75% of the way through Unsold. It is really good so far. I'm just about to start chapter 16. It's got 20 chapters. It does definitely feel like the first book of a series. It definitely feels like we're getting grounded in this world and following Lyndon, our main character. I do enjoy the fact that I can already see the scope for where we could go in the next 8-9 books. I can see how this series would grow and expand. I think that's great. I think Lyndon is an interesting approach to a archetype that does exist about the place, but we don't see super often, and that's essentially the unmagicked member of society in a very magical society. Now, he's not quite completely without magic, but he is very weakened compared to the society around him. And I really enjoyed it. I can see how this is going to be a big leveling up series, and I can totally imagine that in 5 books' time, his power will be unrecognizable from where it is in this first book. But this has served the purpose I wanted it to. It has been a super easy read. I will probably have finished it by this evening. I've only got 5 chapters to read. So next week in my weekly wrap up, I'm sure you will hear my full thoughts and opinions on it. But I can absolutely see myself loving this book, and I can see how I would maybe tear through the first 4 or 5 books of this series pretty quickly. I've not quite decided what I'm going to start reading after I've finished Unsold. I don't know if I'm going to pick up book 2 in Cradle, if I'm going to go for something else. But if I'm feeling a little bit slumpy still, I can totally see myself picking up book 2, knowing it'll be another easy read, an enjoyable, fast-paced book that I'm going to just enjoy and I'm going to breeze through, and it's going to be a really good, fun time. Other than that, I'm not quite sure what I'll pick up, but we shall see. So they're the books I've been mainly listening to and reading. As well as that, there are a couple of books that I've been going through nice and slowly and steadily. These have mainly been reading on my phone in between other things. So the main one that I've been reading slowly through over the last couple of weeks has been a non-fiction book by M.D. Presley. It is called World Building for Fantasy Fans and Authors, and it is essentially a non-fiction look at how we create fantasy worlds, how to do it well, some of the main ideas around doing that. It uses a set of examples from very, very popular culture. So he references Star Wars a lot, he references Harry Potter, He references Lord of the Rings and, you know, the Legendarium by Tolkien. He references A Song of Ice and Fire by George R.R. Martin, and then occasionally he also references Avatar: The Last Airbender. So they're his sort of main works that he pulls examples from. So it's not necessarily just a study of those works, it is a more general look at how to do world building. He takes a lot of references from really well-known world builders, whether that's Sanderson, whether that's Jemison, loads of other guys, and he does it really well. I think it's very interesting. It's a bit dry, but I'm quite enjoying it. I'm just plodding through it slowly, reading a chapter every day or so, and I'm quite enjoying it. Now, I have picked this up because of r/fantasy bingo, and is to fill my non-fiction, fantasy-related non-fiction square. I'm really enjoying it. I can't see myself blasting through it. I imagine I'll be continuing to read this slowly for the next few weeks at the very least. But it is really good. I am really enjoying it, and it's making me think about the worlds that I'm reading in my fantasy books. So yeah, if you're interested, maybe give that a pick up. It might be interesting to you. It is a bit slow paced, it's a bit dry, but it is interesting for those interested in world building. So yeah, I hope that gives you an insight of what I've been reading this week. I will hopefully see you next week for the next weekly wrap up, and you can see how I've progressed, what else I picked up, and how I've enjoyed The Bitter Twins and how I've enjoyed Unsold as well, as I will hopefully finish them next week. If you like the video, don't forget to click like, subscribe if you want to hear more from me, and I will see you guys again soon.